And we begin with this breaking news at 5 o'clock. Pope Francis is now in the United States. He arrived just an hour ago to a loud, warm welcome. It is the first time this Pope has been in the United States, and he's kicking off his 6-day tour in the nation's capital. Catholics have been waiting a long time for this day.
You can hear the excitement in that piece of video there. Pope Francis now becoming just the 5th Pope to travel to the U.S. in the past 50 years. We want to head right out to Paula Ebben, who's live in D.C. tonight. And Paula, what an exciting day for so many Americans.
So many Americans, David and Lisa, and for the 70 million Catholic Americans, of course, this is their spiritual leader. But for even more Americans now, Pope Francis is a wildly popular figure who has really changed the conversation about the Catholic Church and what it means to be Catholic. Americans like him, they're fascinated by him, and the way he chose to be seen the first time he set foot on American soil really tells you all you need to know about who he really is. For the first Pope from the Americas, a rare and significant welcome just over an hour ago here in the nation's capital, but it was an understated ceremony for an understated pontiff. The first Pope from Latin America, greeted by the first African-American president along with his family, and the Holy Father shook hands, lifting his expressive eyebrows as he greeted dignitaries at Joint Base Andrews, and the cheering crowd was straining to see him. After spending 7 minutes alone with the first family, the Holy Father then drove to rest this evening at the Vatican Embassy, the most sought-after man in the world, waving from the window of a small Italian-made Fiat. And the arrival of Pope Francis kicks off his 5.5-day trip here to the U.S., which begins here in the nation's capital, then moves on to New York City later in the week, and then the weekend in Philadelphia. And meticulous preparation went into this historic visit. At the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception, Washington's Cardinal Wuerl makes a last-minute visit to check the altar, the flowers, and the simple scene set for a humble pope. This is where Pope Francis will celebrate his first Mass in the United States, and where Junipero Serra will be made a saint of the Catholic Church in the first canonization on American soil.
Seminary, they're going to be arriving at their nation's capital.
And one thing we expect to see Pope Francis do is try to reach out to young American people. We've seen that everywhere he goes. In Cuba, when he spoke to young people there, he told them to dream big about what life can be. And it seems that the Pope is able to connect with a lot of young American Catholics already, including 3 who we spoke with, 3 college students who we met up with here in Washington, D.C.
I think the Pope visiting the United States will pose several challenges to not only the American people, but also politicians. I think he will challenge people to think about their actions.
Pope Francis really brought a message of trying to open up the church and bring in some new ideas.
We're all very excited to get the chance to be in his presence.
Megan, Ryan, and Sam, 3 Holy Cross students spending a semester interning in D.C. and scoring big time in the papal sweepstakes. They're going to the White House tomorrow for the Pope's official welcome.
He has devoted his life to social justice, and in my opinion, what I like most about him is that in every message he gives, he brings it back to serving others.
The Pope's message of compassion is an inspiration to many young people who follow him on Twitter daily. What is it people your age find engaging about this Pope?
Well, I think people our age find him very relatable. I think a lot of social issues, he's very progressive on it in terms of the church, and I think he's taken stances that kids our age can really relate to.
And for these young people, the Pope's visit to America is nothing less than a call to action.
I think it's a very important time for him to be here, and it's going to be good to have him, start a new conversation.
He is encouraging people to think differently, and I think that's really important. As someone who's gone to a Jesuit school, Holy Cross has made me think differently about a lot of things, and I think he is encouraging people to do the same.
So besides all of the expected security preparations, a lot had to be done before the Pope holds Mass here in Washington, D.C. tomorrow. When you see him at Mass, the Pope will be sitting in a custom-made chair. It took over a month to craft. It's simple and sustainable, just as Pope Francis wanted. Carpenter Dave Cahoon says this is the most important work of his life. He also, by the way, built the chair and the altar for Pope Benedict's visit to Washington in 2008. Just want to show you some of the souvenirs that we're seeing around D.C. see people selling T-shirts, hoping that people want to commemorate that they were here for the Pope Francis papal visit. But I thought this was really fascinating. The logo that the Vatican put on these water bottles, for instance, that they gave members of the media, is not the face of Pope Francis, but his back facing the city, facing people, putting the focus on the people of the Catholic Church, which is really a fascinating difference, and I think one of the reasons why people have really responded to Pope Francis. It's not about him, it's about other people. Now, Pope Francis has a very busy day planned tomorrow. Again, much needed rest tonight after his very aggressive schedule in Cuba, and we will get you closer to this trip. At 9:15, there is a welcome ceremony and meeting with President Obama at the White House. I've actually been invited to be inside there tomorrow morning, so I'll be tweeting photographs and sharing with you how the ceremony goes on the White House grounds. Then at 11, a papal parade along the Ellipse and National Mall in D.C., followed by a midday prayer with the bishops of the United States, and that's expected around 11:30. Coming up at 6 o'clock, we'll show you a little bit more of the important preparations today for the canonization here tomorrow and what the Cardinal of Washington had to say about Pope Francis coming to his diocese. For now, from Washington, Paula, Ebben, WBZ News. David, back to you.
And completely different this Pope visit, that people were live tweeting his arrival, and people of every religion happy to see him here. Paula, thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you again in just a little bit. You can count on WBZ for complete coverage of the Pope's visit to the U.S. Paula will be traveling with the Pope from D.C. to New York and Philly, and will be bringing us live reports along the way. You can also get more on CBSBoston.com.